Of Malibu where the waves are pumping, to the Great Wall of China, and back to the streets of Las Vegas where the UFC is coming. We are live. This is It's Time Radio, the show where we talk about what you think about but may be afraid to voice. Do not worry, we'll talk about it for you. We talk about everything on It's Time. No holds barred radio, folks. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, politics, UFC, you name it, we talk about it. And we're here today with my co-host, my producer, TJ DeSantis. TJ, Viva La Mexico. You had a good time there. You're back, ready to rock.
Was I in Mexico? No, I
Weren't
was
you in Mexico last week?
Like 2 weeks ago, I was in Mexico. I was in
Where were you
Sacramento
last week? You were
week.
somewhere
That's right.
last week.
Sacramento.
Sacramento. Well,
Which is
maybe
a lot
the
different
Mento
than
and the Mexico
let
got
me tell
mixed
you
up.
that. Yeah.
All right, so Sacramento, you had a good time?
Yeah, it was good. Hung out with Uriah Faber. It was fun.
Hey, great guy, one of my favorite people ever. Meeting in the UFC. People got to realize Uriah Faber's not just a great guy, a great fighter, but he's a fantastic businessman.
Yeah.
Really, really multifaceted businessman. So I want to give Uriah his kudos. We'll have him on the show soon. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about who else we have on the show. Ray Longo, outspoken, the man who says it all. Put a hole through his chest, you name it. Ray Longo's there to direct your fighters and make sure they do what they got to do, like Chris Weidman did last weekend in Atlantic City. We'll talk about that. Ray, how are you?
Oh, very good. And Bruce, I got to start off because you know I love you. But, 2 o'clock in the morning, TJ, I just want to update you. He wants to get back to his hotel room. We were celebrating Weidman's victory, and he was gracious enough. Everybody loves him. They want a picture with him. And he did stop to take the time, as he always does,
Yeah.
which I find, not that I find it fascinating, but it's great to see people really giving back. And he stopped at 2 in the morning, took the pictures, and then I tried to get him out of there as quick as possible. But I want to thank you for that. Those were all kind of my friends, too. So,
yeah, no, they made
nice.
that very clear. And, of course, I hear Ray Longo, I hear friends. I'm there. I'll do whatever's needed. But, yeah, the crowd started gathering and all. It was 2 in the morning. Definitely a long, long day. But you know what? Ray, thank you for saying what you said. Your words are always appreciated. But the fans deserve everything. Look, we have the greatest fans in the world in UFC. And barring any rudeness or ever, which is extremely rare, if ever, they're always respectful, and they deserve their pictures. They deserve their handshakes. They deserve whatever they want, their autographs.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's why we're kind of friends. I think like minds think alike, and I'm 100% just grateful for anybody. Like, if you would have told me 40 years ago people wanted to take their picture with me, I would have thought it was weird, TJ. But it's nice how things work out, and it's nice to be accomplished at what you do, and it's just a great feeling. So, but I just want to let you know I really appreciated what you did.
Thanks, Ray. It's always nice to be recognized, and the bottom line is anybody that has an issue with that should not be doing what they're doing. That's part of our obligation and the role that we play. They
100%.
pay our paychecks. They keep this thing running. And let's face it, the fans, along with the fighters and everybody else involved, are the lifeblood of this organization. So,
100%.
I'm just curious if 40 years ago, if you would have told, you guys that everyone would have a camera on them everywhere they went, 24/7, if you would have believed that. Because, it's crazy to me to think about, in the 90s even, not that long ago, in the 90s, even the first part of the 2000s, people would be out at events and, you'd have to remember to go bring a camera. You'd have to go buy a disposable camera if you caught someone that you looked up to.
It's funny, you say that because now the cameras are so accessible with our iPhones or whatever phone we're carrying. But I was watching the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan thing.
Yeah.
On Showtime, was it? And in the 9th episode, they had the flu game. I talked about this before on the show. And I had Michael, my legendary brother Michael Buffer, announcing the game. And you see me walking around him with this handheld camera.
That's funny, yeah.
Trying to capture everything. And I'm like, I don't even pick that up anymore. And I remember what a hassle it was a lot of times, carrying those cameras with you. When now it's just.
Well, what's crazy, too, is that right there, Buff. Your phone shoots
better camera, right?
Than the $3,000 camera I can go buy. You know what I mean?
And TJ, really, it is a good point because there were fights that I went with those disposable Kodak cameras, which doesn't even exist anymore because they didn't roll with the punches and go with the times. But those Kodak, and then you know how many pictures I missed with people. I was never a big picture taker anyway, but then I was like, you know what? It's pretty cool. It's good for the school. You put pictures up, everybody starts a conversation. So I started getting a little better with that. But the little Kodak disposable camera, crazy. Then you had to go get it printed up.
Right.
You had to drop it off at one of those little Kodak sheds.
Oh,
Or,
the little
Yeah.
sheds and stuff like that. No, it's crazy. But, this
it is
camera,
nuts when you think about it. Yeah.
like all the cameos I do,
Right.
the videos, all the orders for weddings and birthdays and championship intros that come into brucebuffer.com, iPhone 15, and it's the highest quality. I mean, granted, I've got a studio set up with green screen and, stand and everything. Kristen films me and all that kind of stuff. But the iPhone 15, one-stop shop.
Yeah, it's great.
Unbelievable.
It's a blessing and a curse, because here's the thing, man. Like, you have to constantly be worried. Not that we're doing anything nefarious, but you have to constantly be worried that someone's going to roll up on you rolling film. You know what I mean? And, like, maybe you're talking about something that's private. Maybe it's a personal situation.
There is no privacy anymore.
No,
I don't
and
care where you're at.
I hang out with, like, Eddie Bravo's crew, and they're constantly, like, documenting everything for, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. And, like, I just don't want to talk anymore. I don't think I'm going to say anything controversial, guys, but, like, I just turn around the corner. It's like, oh, there's a camera there. What did I say? Oh, I think I'm okay. But
listen.
Yeah. You're right. You're 100% right.
Taking it to another level, how you handle yourself in public, if you're in a bar, in a restaurant, if you're in an alleyway or whatever, cameras are always on you.
Right.
Always.
Well, the problem is, though, is when a situation arises and someone needs to diffuse it, instead of diffusing it, they're like, oh, let me get this out here.
I know.
It's
Had
like,
that happen more times than I can remember.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
All right, enough with the camera, guys.
Yeah.
I will say one more thing. That iPhone 15, I'm 14, 15, even the 13.
Yeah.
When sports teams, NBA teams, college teams, you name it, hire me for the Videotron, to do a big introduction, it comes out great. It's just like a regular, studio camera to a large extent.
I'm a snob buff. I think that the film, looks great. The picture looks great. The audio, if you don't have some sort of audio interface in them, it sounds terrible.
I have a special audio interface, so
there you go.
Yeah,
it's
you're
important.
absolutely right about that. All right, we had a big show. When I say a big show, it wasn't like marquee, except for Chris, and a couple others that a lot of people would know beyond the up and comers who, with all respect in the world, are amazing and gave the performance, put their blood, sweat, and tears in the octagon floor. But it wasn't like a huge name show. But again, with the exception of Chris and a couple others, but it was a hell of a show in Atlantic City. I thought from beginning to end. The energy was there. The Boardwalk Hall was sold out, which people have to understand. The Boardwalk Hall, and you'll back me up on this, Ray, the history of boxing.
Without a doubt.
And events that occurred in the Boardwalk Hall, which I think was even depicted in Boardwalk Empire, the HBO miniseries a while back, set back during the days of the Depression. This Boardwalk Hall has been around a long time.
Well, even the history of MMA, early Zuffa era shows, going out there.
Yeah.
It's a time capsule in a lot of ways.
I mean, Arturo Gotti for years was, headline. I went to a bunch of Gotti fights there that were just phenomenal, and the ambiance was good. And it brought me back because I forgot about it, kind of, Bruce. And then when I walked in, I go, geez, I've been here a million times. You know what I mean? So
same thing happened to me, Ray. I had the same mental epiphany when I walked in. Same thing. It's like, wow, I forgot how many times I've been here and all the great fights I've seen.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I think the last time I was there, it was Lennox Lewis fighting Shannon Briggs.
I mean, think of that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, TJ, the place did Jersey, and plus in the 80s with like Matthew Saad Mohammed and Dwight Kwawi Braxton and those guys, Spinks, everybody fought there, man. It was crazy.
You're mentioning names that back then it was every weekend. Sorry, TJ, it was every weekend like UFC is today, the water cooler conversation on a Monday. Boxing was, because every week we had amazing boxers every week going at it.
Amazing. Amazing. Never coming back again either.
No. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was a time period where Atlantic City was having just as, if not more, high-level fights than Las Vegas was in a lot of ways. There
was the spectacle fights in Atlantic City for sure. I mean, it kind of shared the dais with Las Vegas, but it was enough to keep it on the map and a level of equality with the level of events that were going on in Vegas. How is that city doing? Because I know that a lot of casinos out there ended up going like bankrupt, and it was hard. Like, do you feel, Ray, that Atlantic City could ever get back to a city of prominence for entertainment?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. It's going to take.
It's a destination for people that live on the East Coast, but no one from the West Coast is going to Atlantic City when they can just go to Vegas.
Yeah, but you got to remember on the East Coast, you've also got Mohegan Sun, and you've got competition from other top Vegas style, pleasure domes.
Yeah, I mean, once you've been to Vegas, then Atlantic City starts to look pretty bad, because Vegas is really
Vegas.
It's an amusement
Vegas,
park at this point.
Vegas is Vegas. All I remember about Atlantic City is as a kid, that was my summers being a kid in Philadelphia. Was going to Atlantic City.
Nice.
Yeah, the boardwalk, the bike rides, the whole 9 yards. My mom used to give me $5 and it lasted me all day.
Well, you got the ocean there, though. Like, I got to think that would be a way to capitalize on that where Vegas doesn't,
Say again, Tito? Tito. Say again, TJ.
This is 2 times now. This is 2 times in the last year you've called me Tito on this show.
Well, right after the show, I trained with my trainer. His name is Tito, but I don't think it's really about Tito Ortiz. So go ahead.
But wait, hold on. Let me just, speaking of that, did you see the clip where that lady from ESPN thought Dana White was Joe Rogan?
I did.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week on the show. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man, was that brutal. And she just tried to scoop right over that like it was nothing. Dana White.
After he walks off the other podcast, right?
Yeah,
right.
Mandel one, yeah.
But then wait, didn't he sit down when she called him by the wrong name? Didn't he sit down just a few minutes after that?
No, he was already sitting.
He was already sitting. Okay.
Yeah. And she said, "What's the future look like for Joe Rogan?"
Yeah, what's Joe Rogan's dream or something like that?
And he goes, "Joe Rogan," and she goes, "Dana White." He goes, "Wait a minute." Then he thought about it. I think he had to control himself from going absolutely apeshit, but it was so organic and it was. I couldn't believe it.
But again, getting back to what I said, remember when he walked off? What was the gentleman's name?
Howie Mandel. Yeah.
Didn't Howie Mandel, in the one we're talking about now, didn't he come into the studio after she said that?
That I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of another podcast. Anyway, Dana's had some interesting moments on radio interviews and podcast interviews lately.
See, here's the thing. I believe very little of what I see in stuff with that. But that situation with that woman, like,
that was for real.
Yeah,
that was for real.
Because there was no playing off of that. She was like, "Oh man, I screwed up. I'm just going to kind of try to keep going here." And it's like, kudos to Dana for letting it go. Because if I flew somewhere and gave my time to someone in person, and you didn't even realize who you were talking to, I'm leaving. I'm out.
Yeah. That's horrible. Yeah. But anyway, let's move on. I don't want to. Let's not stress on that, Tito. Let's keep going.
Okay. All right. Listen, let's just talk about Chris for a second.
Yes.
You're in the corner. The fight's happening. 2 or 3 eye pokes occur. With that being said, how did you feel about the whole thing winding up? I've never had to go back in and change an announcement like that before.
That's interesting. I'd like to hear what happened, your take on that. I heard that was a little bit of a clusterfuck I'm hearing through the grapevine, but I don't know if that's true or not. But so look, here's what happened. I really wasn't – I was kind of caught in the moment because I was so happy to see Chris resemble the guy I used to know. You know what I mean? That was the key for me. It's like, wow, I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing. His head was in the right spot. He has a great first round. So I'm not really the eye poke. There was one they called maybe in the second round, but then he came out strong at the end and he took that round too. I know Bruno had power in his hands, so I was keeping him focused on that, and that was it. I was more happy. Like even if they, and I'm not saying this, so my concern was I was happy he wasn't injured. He won the fight. Even if they DQ'd him, I like what I saw. I think it's a win either way because of just the horrific accident he went through and had to come back from. I'm looking at it differently. As a friend, I think I was looking at it. As a coach, I might have got a little caught in a moment with the eye pokes, but I was going, wow, I'm this guy. I like what I see.
I'm with you on what you said, and let me tell you, and I'm not giving that I had anything to do with this, okay? Yeah. When I got in the octagon, I watched the replay, and I saw the eye poke that occurred before he went down, right?
Yeah.
And I said to Gary Copeland, I said, Gary, did you see the eye poke that he caught, before he went down? And Gary looked at the tape, and then he went over and talked to the commission. It says nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
My instructions from Gary on what to call the fight because
I got you.
Referee,
okay.
And I called the fight a TKO when I went in. Right.
I got you.
After that, Gary had gone over and the commission had taken it upon themselves to watch the replay. And that's when Larry Hazard came over to me and said, we need to change this and you need to make another announcement. And it was after they watched the replay on their own that they decided that it was a unanimous decision.
Okay.
Right. So technical decision due to the illegal eye poke.
Well, so they went to the scorecards because it was after
Well, they
2
told me to
rounds.
say unanimous decision. They didn't tell me to say
No.
technical
It is a unanimous decision, but it's a technical decision, meaning the full fight didn't elapse. So, like, we had one of these in Invicta with Pearl Gonzalez. She was in a fight with Vanessa Porto, and there was a similar situation, eye poke. It had actually lacerated the eyelid of Pearl's opponent. They go to the scorecards because it had gone over half the fight. It used to be it'd have to be over half of the rounds need to expire, the scheduled round. Right. So it used to be after the 2-minute and 31-second mark of a championship fight. Now I guess it's just 1 second into over half the round, so it'd be 1 second into the third for a traditional fight, and I guess that would be 1 second into the fourth for a championship fight. That's the thing. I think these athletic commissions, first off, they need to know what the rule is themselves because they don't totally know. They're changing all the time. But all is well that ends well. And I think, while there's some controversy here, the right guy won the fight.
I think so. And I don't think anything was intentional, too, which is the other thing, because but it's sad that I think he looked good, and it's kind of marred with controversy because I talked to him. He goes, holy crap, I'm getting killed on that. And I go, hey, it is what it is. But I'm not for eye pokes. I don't know what to do about them. But
nothing can be done unless the gloves are redone, and then you affect the ability to grapple and do mixed martial arts.
Exactly. I agree with you.
A lot of people bring up Pride, which, by the way, it's Pride Never Die Month on Fight Pass. Pride had this sort of curled finger sort of thing. And a lot of people say, there were no eye pokes in Pride. And that might be true. You might think that there's not a lot of eye pokes in Pride. But think about this, guys. People pointing to Pride for less eye pokes. Sure, there's going to be less eye pokes. In 10 years, Pride did 700 fights. In 10 years, 700 fights. The UFC does over 700 fights in a single year. Mm-hmm. Individual fights. And, it's hard to, point to that. But the glove, it needs to be changed.
And, TJ, I also think it's crazy. There was no eye pokes, but guys got their head socket kicked off their shoulders a bunch of times. I mean, we're in a sport where bad things are going to happen.
Yes.
Even if they're legal or good. It's crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like...
That's why people love Pride. Had everything UFC had and a little bit of extra salt,
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But look, it's part of the game, I guess, when you have gloves like that. Boxing years ago went to the attached thumb, which saved a lot of people's detached retinas. They were getting thumbed in the eye because it was loose.
Right.
And I hope Bruno Silva's all right because I don't think it wasn't intentional. And again, for me, I was so caught up in what I was looking at, again, even from a friend standpoint, not even from a coach's standpoint, that I was just happy. And he's winging his freaking right leg, which I'm cringing in the corner. That I was conscious of. I go, if this guy's leg snaps again, I'm running out of the arena. He's nuts, I think. I think he's crazy at this point.
Listen, the bottom line is that Chris did look like Chris of old or Chris of new.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think he's got a new fire in him.
Yeah.
A W's a W. Take the win, roll with it, and that's it. Roll with the punches, as they say.
And again, Bruce, I want to give a shout out because I've been around a long time. I'm just so content where I am and happy with all things. Jeff Jimmo down in South Carolina or North Carolina did a great job with him. He did a great job. He's a fantastic guy, great coach. I think he got him in the right spot. And I talked to Chris. He goes, "No, I promise you, I'm healthy. I feel good." And, now you got to prove it. You know what I mean? So he backed up what he said to me. That's all I give a shit about. But really, hats off to Jeff Jimmo for taking the reins out there and, keeping him in there. And I thought he looked fantastic. And again, when I'm in there coaching him, I've been in there so many times with him, I don't have to see anything. I know exactly what he does. Nothing's really changed. And that's what I go off. So it all worked out good.
It all worked out good. Everybody's happy. Let's go on to a few other fights.
Hang on, Bruce. You're not going to let me start and stop 7 times and then
go ahead, TJ. I'm sorry.
So I want to say this with you, Ray, because we've talked a lot about this. Whether it's any champion or one of your guys, there's this fire that seems to wane after these athletes get to the mountaintop. And I thought the biggest takeaway for me, forget the result. If Chris would have got stopped after the third round starts. We saw a Chris Weidman that was mentally there and
Yes,
physically
yes.
there. And those two things are really hard when you consider the fact that Chris Weidman doesn't need to prove shit to anybody.
Well, yeah, TJ, really right on with that. And that's kind of where I was coming from. So I kind of wasn't in tune with the eye post. So that's what I'm concentrating on. I go, wow, he might be back. Like, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? And I think, a guy like Chris Weidman, if you watched his career coming up, everything he did, losing 30 pounds in a week, taking the Sakara fight right after his rib was broken and just healing, like, he needs that challenge, I think. And I think that's what he kind of said after he won the championship, defended it. It was like, what am I doing? Like, wasn't like fun. Now, I think he breaks his leg, so he's got another mantra. He's got another cause to fight. Let me prove that I could come back from this injury. And I think that's what I saw. And like TJ, like we do talk a lot. It's all mental.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's when you can dial in mentally. And, that's what I said. Marvin Hagler, 14 title defenses, whatever it is. He's the guy to come up. It's hard to get up in 2-degree weather when you're sleeping in silk sheets and still do your run. That's the hard part.
Yep.
That's the hard part. And I think he lost it a little bit. But I think the leg break kind of really brought him back. Because if you even look at the fight with Tavares, he's getting his legs beat up. And he's like, motherfucker, man. So you could see the fire was still even coming back. I think it started there, and he carried it right over to this fight, and he walked out uninjured, which I'm just super happy about. But I agree 1,000,000% with you, TJ.
Warrior spirit forever. Warrior spirit forever, Ray, and that's what Chris has. No question. So
without a doubt.
Kudos to Chris. Nice to see his family there. Everybody's so happy for him. Fighting near his hometown. I mean, what more can you ask for when you come back with a win? Right? Awesome.
And uninjured, Bruce, which is great.
Uninjured, which is always a key. Let's face it, these fighters are going in injured and going out injured.
Yes, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. People don't realize that.
Nobody sees that end of it,
Yeah.
And again, I'm not bringing up the eye poke thing, but there's a clear picture where he's getting a thumb in his eye. He just chose to fight through it, So by doing that, it kind of makes him look worse. He could have stopped and then it evens it out and that, whatever. But I'm concentrating on the positives as a friend and as, a coach and stuff like that.
That's because you're a great coach and a great friend, Ray, as you are to all your fighters. And it's really admirable. It's I love the way you work with your fighters. I love the respect they show you. A couple of questions real quick because we got you for 7 minutes here.
Yeah.
Tyson, Jake Paul.
What do you want to know?
How do you feel about that?
I got to tell you, I feel like this is an indication of society. That's what I feel like. The balls of this kid to first off call out a 60-year-old man, then to have to wear headgear, 18-ounce gloves, and 2-minute rounds. Like, I think it's disgusting.
Headgear?
Yeah.
I heard the 16-ounce gloves and 2-minute rounds. Headgear?
They keep adding more and more, Buff.
Yeah. So what? It's an exhibition. There's no
I don't think it's going to happen.
Is the headgear optional?
No.
That just killed it for me.
No, Bruce, that's what I'm saying. They kill. First off, it should be killed even without anything.
Yeah.
And I still think Tyson's going to beat the crap out of him.
I do too.
Yeah, I do. This will be but again, I don't think even Jake Paul cares. It's all about the show and the TikTok and the Willy Wonk and everything. I'm just not down for it, man. I don't know, man. I'm hard. I'm getting old.
I'm less down for it now. I have a UFC I'm announcing that night. I was bummed because I wanted to watch the boxing match, but listen. Mike's a buddy. All respect to Jake Paul for what he's doing. I'm not going to put him down about anything except some of the ways he handles himself sometimes. But you know what? The guy's making money. He's bringing eyeballs into the sport, young eyeballs, and hopefully he'll watch a real boxing match when real boxing.
Well, that's the problem, Bruce. He's bringing eyeballs to a spectacle. I don't know if that's transferring over to people watching boxing. I think it's hurting it. I think it's going the other way because look at what did his brother fight? Mayweather started out at 130 pounds. This guy's 200 pounds. He's fighting a Mayweather who's 40-something years old too. Dude, this stuff's got to stop, man. But we buy it.
Ray, everybody's crying.
I don't buy it.
Everybody's walking to the bank and cashing checks.
Yeah, that's
true. The estimated thing from Netflix for Jake and Tyson, and again, it could be off, is $20 million for Mike and $40 million for Jake Paul.
But that's the thing. Ray hit the nail on the head. You have to blame society for it because it won't happen if the dollars aren't there, and the dollars are there. And I can very happily say I haven't bought any of that stuff. I don't care.
Well, very happily you wanted to buy this, unless you're just on Netflix.
Yeah, but that's true. But hey, TJ, you know what I would admire Jake Paul for walking into a gym and sparring Tyson for no money. Then I would say that takes balls.
What happened to the $1 million offer to Sean Strickland to spar Sean Strickland from Jake Paul?
Oh, I don't know.
So that's the thing. Basically, Sean said,
and also $1 million offer to Patty Pimlet. Is this all bullshit?
Right. So with Strickland, I know this for sure. Sean had made a post about it, basically saying that the UFC was going to get in the way of anything like that. But Strickland did say to Jake, "Hey, come out here in Las Vegas and we can spar. No cameras, no money. Just come here and just come here and we'll spar. And it can be something we don't even have to tell the world about. Just
That won't work with Jake Paul.
Of course not, because it's a cash grab.
And I got to tell you, as wacky as Strickland is, I align with him in a lot of his crazy thoughts, which is scaring the crap out of me. But I think the guy's, at least you know where he stands, TJ. You know what I'm saying? And that's all you can expect. He's not going to stab you in the back with something. He's like a Nick Diaz. Nick and Nate, they tell you what's on their mind.
Yeah, in
a lot of people don't do that.
In a world of everything being contrived and fake and manufactured, there's nothing like that with Sean Strickland, for better or for worse.
Hey, TJ, for me, I swear to God, it's so refreshing. It's crazy. I don't know. I like it. I appreciate it, and I just
I don't agree with him, Ray, and I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Liking and appreciating, Ray. I got 3 minutes with you.
Yeah.
Did you see Roadhouse?
I did see Roadhouse.
Oh, let's hear the Ray Longo critique. Go.
I'm an easy critic. I thought Conor McGregor. Let me go with this. I thought Conor McGregor was fantastic in it. Listen, is it a movie that you're going to recommend? It's a release. It's entertainment, and I think knowing I don't really know McGregor, but because he fights, I thought and I've done a couple of movies, so I look at it differently. It's not easy to get behind the camera, and I think you know that too, Bruce. And I thought McGregor did a great job. He came across as a good villain. He was basically himself, but
perfect role for him.
A lot of people aren't, they didn't like the movie, but the first one was far-fetched too. What are we talking about? Like, it's entertainment. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Put it this way: I went right through it. I didn't put it down.
Yeah, no, it was a fun romp. I watched it with a couple buddies. We're poking fun at the screen and having fun during the film.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it's there.
It's a fun movie. The first one, the original, had a lot more characterization. You
got Ben Gazzara. He brought a dynamic, character to it. Swayze was good. The other guy. Elliot, what the hell's his name?
Sam Elliott was great.
Sam, he's got that. He's just good with that. It's the same thing, but it was more character driven, probably. I think
that's my point. More character driven, more character.
But Bruce, we don't get any movies that are character driven anymore. They gone. You couldn't do Taxi Driver today. They wouldn't do that movie.
No, we live in an ADD society. It's like people want the quick fix, 20 seconds, they lose their attention span. Not everybody, of course. And there are fine films that are made with good scripting, characterization, everything. But it's bang, 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 CGI, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Costume epics, it's a different world. With the occasional characterization and fine film coming out as the Oscar nominations show when they're done.
Guys, there's a reason they're doing remakes, because that's the world we live in now. You got to do a remake. You can't come up with anything original, and it's easier to just take something and update it for the modern times. At the end of the day, I thought
he was great.
He did a great job.
I thought he did a great job. It's not easy. I just did another, low budget movie, but man, by the time I got to my scene, I got there at 5 p.m. By the time I started shooting, it was 3 a.m. People don't realize, dude, this is awful. I got out of there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was dead for 2 days.
TV actors on TV series, they're 12 plus hours a day.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's the hurry up and wait game.
Oh, it's pretty brutal. And when you don't know anybody and you're just sitting there, then thank God for the iPhone.
Absolutely.
You need something.
Ask for the honey wagon next time, Ray. Ask for the room. TV and air conditioning. Get relaxed.
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully someday I'll get to that point.
All right, Ray. It's 3 o'clock your time. You got to get back in the gym, train some more champions, ready to go.
Yeah, I hate to do this because I love talking to you guys. Always, thanks for having me. Again, Bruce, thanks for being so gracious. TJ, I'm glad. It looks like you're doing great. I'm really happy for you too, man. Keep it up.
You're my
And
favorite, Ray.
hopefully I'll see you at 300. You going out next week?
I'll be out there.
Let's get TJ out of his room one time, Bruce.
Maybe.
I don't think he leaves the room.
I come in late this time. I'm not there until Friday, and I'm out Sunday morning. So.
Oh man! All right. Hopefully we could say hello, do something.
Absolutely right.
I'll see you
All
there,
right,
Ray.
guys. Thank you very much, and we'll do it again, man. Let's start early, and if I know earlier, I'll set my schedule the right way.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. I've had an absolute blast recording your championship intros on audio and also on video. And for those of you that didn't know, the videos can be done special exactly the way you like them, because these are green screens and we can do them with a scene behind me. Do you want a fighting scene? Do you want a beach scene? Do you want a race car scene? Any scene you want, we can give it to you. It's your theme and my pleasure. Just write our offices and we will answer you with the exact fee involved and how it'll get done. So here we are, and now it's time, and it's your choice. Cheers! Always good to have Ray on the show. I want to have him for another 30 minutes, though, but it's always good to have him on the show. You know what? Getting back to the previous show in Atlantic City last weekend, just a couple standouts. Manon Fior, definitely to be reckoned with, but I give Eric Blanchfield, 24 years old, getting in the octagon, standing toe-to-toe with her, even though the judges had her losing every round. I give her a lot of credit.
And for my money, Bruce, I called her earlier fights in Invicta. This is the real first loss of Erin Blanchfield's career. She had another loss in Invicta. It was a split decision victory that I thought she'd actually done enough to win. So this is the first time in her professional career, in my opinion, that she actually came out on the losing end of a fight. And you said it, 24 years old. She had to have her parents sign a consent form for her to do an EBI tournament in which she won. And she's been a phenomenal fighter, and just came out on a tough decision for herself. But I still believe that she'll be a UFC champion one day.
Yeah, no, she's definitely got the makings of it. There's so many female fighters out there that are just on their way to greatness, if not already achieving it. I love watching the women fight.
100%.
They were able to. I was sad to see the one fight that got canceled suddenly right before the show. But other than that, the show was solid. Standouts late. Nate Landwehr, right? Definite standout in his fight. Vicente Luque and Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin walking out victorious in that. We already talked about Chris's fight. It was just a good, solid show all the way around.
Yeah, and this is a hard time right now, before and after, for the matchmakers, Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby, to actually put together, stacked cards, if you will, with 300, just around the way. A lot of talent's been saved for that one. But, again, a great night of fights. It delivered.
People got to understand, in 300, with all the fights, the 13 fights happening, there's 3 championships. One is the BMF championship. Would you call that the undisputed BMF championship?
I mean, whatever. Sure,
it is what it is.
I mean, it's that title doesn't need to exist for me to be interested in that fight. Sure, it's a nice little, storyline, if you will. But
Justin's the reigning
100%. But again, like you say undisputable. Masvidal was the last man to have the belt. He didn't. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't need either of these guys to have a belt to say that they're one of the baddest men in UFC history. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for it. The winner will walk out with a belt. They're both, a couple of the greatest of all time to ever do
Agreed.
it. So.
Agreed. The strawweight championship, the light heavyweight championship. I mean, what a night, aside from all the other fights they have there. Speaking of Masvidal's boxing, Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Listen, with all respect, and as much as I love Nate, and, all the respect for Jorge, it just doesn't interest me.
That's fine.
Does the boxing fight between the two of them? I mean, of course I would want to watch it because I respect them both so much.
I'll watch that. Yeah, I'll watch that.
Yeah. No, where are we going with this? Is this going to be the thing now?
Yeah.
MMA one week, boxing the next week?
Yeah, which is fine, because I feel like this is a legitimate fight. This isn't Jake Paul and
Yeah,
Mike Tyson.
you know what? I take it back. It is a legitimate fight because you have two legitimate fighters.
Right. You know, of the
Right.
same era, of the same ilk, with history. Is this going to make me a bigger boxing fan? Probably not. But it's something that I'm somewhat interested in. And if you get more MMA fans, at least looking at the sport of boxing, I think it's, you know, the sport is better for it. But, you know, it's definitely a spectacle fight, but not in the same sort of spectacle.
Yeah, it's not really a spectacle fight. It's a respectful boxing fight between two fighters.
It's a spectacle, Bruce. Don't get me wrong, because does anybody really care who the better boxer is between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz? Probably not. But it's an interesting fight that I'm curious to see, you know, how it plays out.
I'll restate myself, being a huge fan of both, knowing Nate for all these years. Of course I would watch it.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Of course. What UFC fan won't?
Right.
We'll find out.
Right.
And you know what? Make that money, boys. Make that money.
Right. And I still firmly believe that Nate Diaz will go back to the UFC and take on Conor McGregor. Because there's too much money in the world for that fight to not happen. And it'll happen in the UFC, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Listen, what Nate wants, Nate's going to get. Just like what Conor wants, Conor's going to get.
Right.
So it works both
ways. And we all want it. At the end of the day, we all want it. So
we all want to see it, you know. Do you think Conor and Chandler are going to be in for fight week or by September for the Sphere?
I don't know. We'll see. That's a whole. There's a lot to that I don't understand, and I try not to pretend that I understand. You know, but that fight will happen. I firmly believe that. It's just when is the big question.
Exactly. Let's go on to some news here. With all respect to our MMA boxing warriors. Tragically, the 7.4 earthquake in Taiwan is horrible.
Yeah. There were a bunch of concerns about potential tsunami warnings for...
Tsunamis hit Japan.
Yeah. They were worried that they would even get to here in the western United States, but we avoided that. But yeah, no, horrific seeing some of the images over there.
Horrible. I mean, just to give you an example, 934 people injured, right?
Yeah.
They lost contact with 50 people in minibuses. 64 people trapped in a rock quarry.
Yeah.
6 in another. Aftershocks causing 24 landslides, 35 roads and bridges damaged. You know, it's
well, and that's the thing too, Bruce,
nothing to squawk at.
These big earthquakes, you don't know when they're really over because you get these rumblings afterwards, and that's scary because obviously their infrastructure has been compromised. There's, you know, a rescue effort still going on. And in the back of your mind, you have to go like, is it over? Do we know? We don't know.
I don't know. I hope so for the benefit of everybody. But my condolences, best wishes, and prayers go out to everybody over there.
I mean, that's the thing. You and I live in, you know, earthquake central for everyone here in the United States. And it's something that is out of your mind, right? You hope if it does hit, you're prepared and can handle it. But at the end of the day, you know, we all know it could happen and likely will one day. But
one day, well, we've had a 7.2 here in LA, and that was bad enough.
Yeah.
So let's just hope it doesn't happen again.
100%.
Okay. Can't go into it too much, but this P. Diddy situation is just blowing up.
Yeah, Bruce, I don't even know what to say. Like, I saw a quick blast that they were searching his home and didn't really know what, and then the stories that are starting to come out and rumblings about rumors and
huge rumors. Well, we're not going to be a rumor mill here on It's Time Radio, but it is interesting that Homeland Security is the one that raided his houses. There's a lot more going on here than the obvious.
Yeah, and, you know, it's one of those things, like you said, we can't sort of push the rumors. We don't, you know, it's irresponsible, I think, to talk about anything that's unsubstantiated or, you know, just being thrown around. But this is going to be one of those wait and see things where, I mean, it's going to get worse before it gets better in some of these accusations. And, you know, he's innocent until proven guilty. But this is a situation that is pretty crazy to watch unfold.
Very crazy. And it's going to involve a lot of names, just like Epstein's bringing in a lot of names.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you heard about this new thing? The kids are, well, adults, but now it's going to the kids. Henry came down. It was great to see Henry, who's been going to school at University of Oregon. He came down for spring break for 10 days. It was just awesome to spend time with my godson and the whole family when I could. But he says a lot of the kids are taking the Zyn, these nicotine patches. Have you heard of it? It's nicotine patches. It's like a replacement for chewing tobacco. It's pure nicotine. They get a little high off it after 15 minutes. He was telling me a lot of kids are using them now.
So is it designed to get people to stop smoking or stop chewing?
Yeah, it's relatively new. It's a tobacco-free, smokeless design product.
And you get high off of it?
Pardon me?
And you get high off of it?
Well, he mentioned, I said, why do the kids like that? He said, well, they get a little like head rush.
Okay, so like a buzz. So same sort of like endorphin rush that you get from smoking or chewing, right?
Nicotine.
Yeah,
it's pure nicotine.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
No matter how you cut it, though, nicotine is highly addictive.
Correct.
And highly cancerous in the mouth. I mean, lip cancer.
Not nicotine, though, Buff. That's the thing. Nicotine doesn't cause cancer. It's the other stuff that is involved with.
Oh, the other stuff that's in the cigarettes.
Correct. Like straight nicotine. Again, I'm not trying to like advocate for nicotine by any means. But yeah, like that's been the sought after. That's why vaping was such a big deal for people, because they thought that vaping was a safe way to get your nicotine fix.
No,
I'm not saying that anything, like if you can avoid getting addicted to something, avoid getting addicted to it. But the whole sort of scenario here is the idea that there's a safe way to take in a chemical like that. And I mean, everything is a drug. You probably should avoid something that you don't necessarily need in your life. But I don't know. It's weird.
Well, dependency on nicotine causes, cravings, withdrawal symptoms, the whole bit. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it's a substance that your body starts to crave and makes you act irritable when you don't get it and all sorts of things like that. You should avoid introducing that into your life.
Yeah. And again, this is just the new thing I heard about the kids are into. It's just like a little pouch right between the cheek and gum. And
oh, so it's still, you're putting it in your mouth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, then there could be some cancer concerns.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. I thought you said it was a patch.
No, not a patch. No, it's
got it. A pouch.
Pouch. A pouch.
Yeah.
So, yes, can we get back to it then? Yes, it can cause gum and mouth issues.
Yeah. I mean, anything can. Like, that's the thing. Like, cancer can be started from inflammation and irritation. I remember a buddy of mine, their grandfather was, like, addicted to having a toothpick in their mouth, like, constantly in the corner of their mouth. And they ended up getting a sore, and then that sore eventually turned into cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, new thing. Obviously, it was done to help people. It's smokeless. You don't spit it out like you spit out chewing tobacco, which, with all respect to people that chew tobacco, that's one of the ugliest habits I think you could have.
Yeah.
Without question.
It's just gross.
I mean, how would a girl feel going out with a guy, unless she's really into it, where the guy's spitting and chewing tobacco?
I know lots of girls that put up with it.
Wow. All right. Good for them.
Not my bag, I'll tell you that.
Not my bag. Not my bag at all. Egg prices are rising again. Get ready for that. And, of course, with a side effect of an outbreak of bird flu, again, that can make that much worse. What else do we have here? This positive. Oh, here's positive. Mark Coleman doing much better after saving his parents in that fire. And the UFC has gifted him with tickets to come to UFC 300. So we're going to see Mark Coleman at UFC 300.
Yeah, I just did a streaming marathon of Mark Coleman's greatest hits in Pride FC. It's archived now. Hopefully people can check that out. But if you don't know, Mark Coleman kind of busted into superhero mode a couple weeks back, saving his parents from a house fire. His dog tragically passed away. He was in intensive care. It wasn't looking good for the Hammer, but he was able to pull through, and it's great to see and great to know that he's doing better, and we'll get to take in UFC 300 live in Las Vegas.
Yeah, those videos of him with his kids and in the hospital bed just tore me up.
Yeah,
he was just so happy to know his parents were alive.
I will say this: he's really transformed his life in the last couple of years. He got sober. He got back in phenomenal shape, and some things happen for a reason, Bruce. If he wasn't in the shape that he was in, he might not have pulled through. And I know he had some aspirations to box. I think those are gone.
I thought he had a fight set.
Well, he's gone through so many different issues with his hip, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I will say this: the fact that he's got into as good a shape as he has, if you believe that everything happens for a reason, maybe he got into shape so he would be able to be the superhero for his family during a really tough time.
Good. If that's the way it worked out beautifully. Most definitely. Roadhouse has become the most watched film debut of any movie on Prime Video.
I finished it. I'll have you know that. And I was having a hard. It was good. It was fine for what it was. It was fine. It sucks when you do a remake because inevitably everyone's going to make the comparison. And no offense to this film, I just think that the original of almost anything every time is going to be somewhat better because it is an original. But for this era and for what it was, and like what you said and what Ray said about Conor McGregor, like Conor did his role and he did his role well. And Jake Gyllenhaal played a great main character. It was fine. It was solid.
All right, well, let me give you an example. Let's say you spent $15 for a movie ticket going into the theater, which I know are more expensive. I'm just going to tell you.
Well, I mean, if you got a girlfriend and you want to, buy some concessions, like it's an $80 to $100 date.
Oh, totally. But I'm saying just per person. Let's just say a $15 ticket.
Yeah.
50 million people viewed this.
Yeah.
If 50 million people bought a $15 ticket, that means the film's already grossed $750 million.
But they wouldn't have bought a $15 ticket to see this movie.
But Netflix is getting the benefit of new subscribers and everything.
Prime.
And supposedly, or not Netflix, Amazon, and supposedly they put up 60 million to have it.
Yeah.
So
they made their money back.
It's working out for them.
Yeah, I mean, but Amazon doesn't lose money. We all know that. So.
No, we know that for sure. And Netflix stock's going through the roof.
Right.
Which it will continue to with the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. Okay, Happy Gilmore, they're making a sequel to that.
Okay.
I'm kind of okay with that.
I mean, I don't know. Adam Sandler is like hit or miss with his stuff.
He needs to get back in the comedy trail. Not needs to. He
Not
does
really.
just fine.
I think he was the #1 paid actor last year.
He was, $45 million or something. He's way up there. He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
But, he takes a stab at serious roles, which I think he does very, very well. If you saw the movie
Uncut
about the
Gems?
jeweler.
Oh, man, that was a great movie.
And the one about when he was the basketball,
that
was also
great
good.
film.
I mean,
I actually think he's better than that than the comedy stuff lately, Buff.
A lot of comedians transform. I've said this before on the show. When it comes to drama and solid acting, they transform very well into dramatic parts, which Adam Sandler is a perfect example of.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, follow me on Instagram. I will give you the link. But on Monday, I'm due to be playing the Max Payne high stakes poker game at the Hustler Casino on TV.
And you did this a couple weeks ago, right?
I did a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Nice. And you made money then?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I would have made more. I folded my pocket kings to pocket ace. I called a huge bet with my pocket kings to pocket aces, and had I folded that hand, I would have won a lot more. But I walked away winning, absolutely, and I expect to walk away winning again. These are high stakes games. The pots can be over $10,000 each.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I'll send out the link on that. March Madness is happening. UConn, amazing. Men and women teams going like crazy. And one last thing, Jason Kelsey, who's talking about retiring with the Eagles, now there's rumors he's going to enter the WWE.
Okay.
Good for him. He's got the personality for it.
Yeah.
So
a lot of former pro football players end up getting into pro wrestling. I mean, Bill Goldberg, who we've had on the show a bunch, that was sort of his career after playing. And I mean,
much bigger in WCW and WWE.
Oh, I guarantee you right now, me saying that, people are like, wait, he played football? People don't know. So,
right. Well, his football career was not like big, gloriously.
No, not by any means. But he was an NFL caliber player. He made it to the NFL. Didn't stay there long, obviously. But, there's an avenue. I mean, Roman Reigns, who's a top WWE performer, he, too, played pro football. I don't know if he ever actually started an NFL game or played in an NFL game, but was on a couple practice squads for sure. And, the physicality involved in professional football, it's been shown to, transfer over to professional wrestling.
Just ask The Rock. He had his own little taste of it himself.
Yeah, well, now he's headlining the next WrestleMania, so it's kind of crazy.
He's really coming on with that one, that's for sure. But, The Rock's got the Midas touch. Whatever he touches turns to gold.
That's true.
Good for him. All right, TJ, let's sign off. What's up with you?
Extra rounds available for you anytime over on UFC Fight Pass. It's the show that I do for them. Dean Thomas and I caught up this week to talk about a variety of subjects. Look back at Atlantic City. Look ahead to UFC 300. And then, just go to Fight Pass. Sign up, UFCFightPass.com, the biggest no-brainer in all of combat sports. And follow me on Twitter or X and Instagram at TJ DeSantis.
Very cool. I will be back in the Octagon for UFC 300. I won't be in the Octagon this weekend. Looking forward to UFC 300. It's a big, big show, big week. Lots of stuff happening around that show.
Yep.
Have a couple of surprises for you during the show, and I'm not saying 360. It's about other stuff.
All right.
They're starting to egg me on about the 360 again.
Don't do it.
I never know what I'm going to do till I do it. But no, that's not the surprises I was talking about. But you'll see when you see it.
I'm excited. I'll be in the building, so I'll be watching with a keen eye.
There you go. Thanks to our sponsors, medicaleverything.com. Check it out for everything you want to do. There's plenty of interesting articles on there. By the way, one of the articles recently, diet drinks, Coke drinks, may boost your risk of heart condition by 20%. You still drinking that diet stuff?
Not so much.
Okay.
I'm trying to cut that stuff out. Like I was talking about the nicotine stuff. Same with caffeine. I'm trying to get rid of that stuff.
Stay away from it. Stay away from it. Thanks to our sponsor, It's Time Cologne. Still one of the top-selling colognes on Amazon, going in the stores along with a bunch of other stuff very, very soon. And Puncher's Chance, knocking down the doors left and right. So big cheers to everybody with Puncher's Chance. TJ, I am going to have a relaxing weekend for a change.
All right.
On the road.
Enjoy.
Look forward to it. And outside of that, I wish everybody a great weekend, great week ahead. Hope you had a wonderful Easter with your families. And we'll be back next week with another edition of It's Time Radio. So look forward to seeing all of you. Big cheers, no fears forever. Buffer out, TJ out, and we'll be back.